Hi, how you doing? My name is John Bettinas, and I wanted to put on this video to show you a little bit about how I deliver my products and my talks to different people when it comes to doing seminars. So what I'm going to do right now is go ahead and mock up a seminar in this room right now. Okay, good. How's everyone doing today? Good. My name is John Bettinas, and I came here today to tell you a little bit about different things that go on in our life, ways to look at different situations and understand yourself a little bit better. Before we get into it, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about myself. I grew up in a city called Lowell, Massachusetts back in the early 80s. And if you know anything about that particular part of the country, it's a really blue-collar area. I grew up in a family where there wasn't a lot of money. Things were kind of tough and things were kind of hard at sometimes, but it taught me a lot, and it really gave me a sense of what it meant to work hard and to really push through. To fast forward a little bit, when I was 7 years old, I grew up in this Irish Catholic family, by the way, of course being from Boston. When I was 7, I was told that I couldn't pay attention in school and that I had this problem called ADD or ADHD. And I was quickly put on a drug. It's called Ritalin. How many of you have ever heard of Ritalin before? Okay, good. I ended up taking this drug for about 14 years. And when you're a child and you're 7 years old, and you're basically told that you need to take a drug to be normal, it isn't something you question. It's something you basically just accept when you have your teacher, your doctor, and your parents basically telling you that it's something you need to do to be normal. Well, as time went on, a drug is a drug is a drug is a drug. And when I told myself that I needed to take a drug to be normal, I ended up getting involved in things like marijuana, because marijuana is a drug and I want to be normal. Alcohol is a drug and I want to be normal. Cocaine is a drug and I want to be normal. And on and on and on. By the time I was about 19, I got introduced to multiple different types of drugs, and my life was just going down in a spiral, worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. I found myself hanging around people that I knew that were not good for me, people that were actually bringing me down, that weren't making me my best, not helping me to reach for my goals. And I found myself getting more and more comfortable with these types of people. By the time I was 19, I had been involved in about 2 car accidents. One of them should have actually taken my life. By the time I was about 24, I would have been involved in about 5 car accidents, in which 3 of them should have taken my life. Standing in front of you, I can tell you that I'm very qualified to talk to you about what it is that I'm going to be talking to you about, not only from my personal experience, but from also a lot of the people that I've had the blessing to be able to stand in front of and help as well. Each day that goes by, we're confronted with so many things, and it's the decisions that we make when those things come into our life that really determines how things are going to come out and how things are going to come back to you. Take your job, for example. You wake up in the morning, you go to work. If you're married, you say goodbye to your husband or your wife, and you go into your job and you do the same thing probably you do every single day. We all know that our attitude plays a big part in how we produce and how we actually do at work. Well, I can tell you that your attitude and the way that you view things determines everything. When I was growing up in Massachusetts and I was 19 and I was using drugs, my attitude was horrible. On top of that, my father, he had a disease. It was called lupus, which quickly turned into something called dementia. And his mind started to go. His memory, how many of you guys have heard of Alzheimer's? Okay, good. It was very similar to that. His memory started to go. And I started to see that the attitude in my family, my mom, my brothers, my sister, myself, was slowly going down and down and down and down. I could see that there was all of these environmental factors that started to really push in and really make me feel really, really negative. And it got really hard. It got really, really difficult. And I realized that, my attitude was something that I had given control over to something else. I didn't take control of it, but I let it go to something else. And it affected me, and it affected my life. And it took years and years and years and years for me to actually change that. It's kind of like turning a ship. It's going in a direction for so long, you can't just kick it in reverse. It takes a long time to turn it around. My father passed in 2005, and towards the end of his life, it was really, really difficult on our family because it just took more and more of all of us rallying together to just help him through what he was going through. So when he went and passed away, it was actually a pretty big blessing in disguise. But that didn't handle my drug problem, which I had. At this point, I was using a lot of cocaine. I was drinking alcohol daily, and I just wasn't going to work, dropped out of college. Life had gotten really, really bad for me, and I could see the effect that it was having not only on my family, but also my future. I went into a program that my family found, and it was called Narcanon, and it's a program that actually was totally different. I had tried other rehabilitation programs in the Boston area where I grew up, but nothing had actually worked. And when I went into this program, I learned a lot about taking control of my life, and taking control not only of the things that I had done, but taking control of the things that I will do. And that made all the difference. Each day when we wake up, our attitude and the control that we exert into our day really does determine how our day is going to turn out. The way that we treat people, the way that we make them feel, just when we stop and smile them, help them with something. All of these things really, really add up into a pretty big effect if you really look at it. And it's your attitude that determines all of this. When I quit using drugs, the day was March 3rd, 2006. I can tell you it was one of the hardest things I had ever done. The second hardest thing I ever done was become honest with myself. To become honest with myself that I could no longer continue to lie to myself and give myself all of the reasons that I had used to use drugs and make it okay to use drugs. When I let all of that go and became transparent with myself, things in life got completely easier. When we're at work or when we're at home, we have these things maybe with a spouse or maybe someone we're having maybe a bit of a problem with, and maybe we have a disagreement with them and we can't quite let it go, or we don't know quite how to confront them on that particular thing, and it just stacks up and stacks up and stacks up. And now when you see them in the hallway, maybe you don't look at them or talk to them or be willing to help them as much or be willing to reach to help them or anything like that. But you tend to notice that you kind of tend to withdraw a little bit. And when you actually just tackle these things, you just confront them, you'll find that in your life, you will be able to do a lot better. And that's the whole purpose of this talk today. For you to understand that regardless of who you are, regardless of what you've been through, what you're dealing with, that it is your attitude that actually determines how things are going to turn out for you. So what I wanted to do is just come in here today and talk to you a little bit about this and hope that this inspired you to maybe think a little bit differently and also make better decisions for yourself. Hope you have a great day. Thank you very much.